What should I look for in a power amplifier? That one's pretty good. This question comes from Scott in Portsmouth, UK, United Kingdom. What should I look for when buying a power amplifier? Can you give me any tips? I'd really like to feel that my current speakers are being driven better, but I don't mind admitting I'm a tad confused. Well, join the pack. There's a lot of people, and we've talked about this before, and we'll talk about it again today and tomorrow and the next day because it's confusing. So every time we talk about it, we say a little bit different, and so maybe we can make some progress on that. He's a little bit confused, and so for example, when I look at some high-end systems using big, powerful speakers, some people seem to be saying that a 50 watt per channel name power amplifier is just fine. How can that be so? I am in need of your knowledge. Thanks. Well, first off, let's dispel a myth that seems to persist and probably will continue to do so for as long as I'm around and beyond that. There is no such thing as big, powerful speakers. Doesn't exist. I know. It's hard when you look at a set of speakers like the Infinity IRS 5s or something that looks like the size of a frickin' refrigerator. Man, something that big surely takes a lot of power, right? Wrong. No. The size of a speaker has almost nothing to do with how much power it takes. I've got at home a little pair of KEF LS 50s. They're Terry speakers, and those are fairly power hungry. I've only got one driver, a little coaxial tweeter in the middle and a little woofer. But they're, if I remember right, they're like 85 dB efficient. So it isn't the size of the speaker that matters. That's what she said. So, sorry, my mind is warped. The way you tell is by looking at the speaker's sensitivity. And sensitivity is measured in decibels. And I know that can be kind of confusing, but here's sort of a guideline. Anything lower than 90 dB efficient is not efficient. It's not a very sensitive speaker, and you're going to need power to drive it. Right at about 90 and above, so higher is better. The higher the efficiency of the speaker, so a 95 dB loudspeaker, if that's its sensitivity, is not going to take many watts to drive it, where an 85 dB loudspeaker is going to take far more watts to drive it to the same volume level that a higher sensitivity speaker is going to require. So, and let's just touch on that real briefly. How do they measure that? It's actually really simple. We take a calibrated microphone and we set it up. We do this all the time. We set it up to a certain standard. We place it exactly 1 meter away from the speaker, and then we send a calibrated tone of 1 watt into the speaker. And however loud that is, for that 1 watt of power, that's the speaker's sensitivity. So when you're 1 meter, 3 feet away from a speaker, and you put 1 watt into it, how loud does it get? Does it reach 85 dB? If it does, it's not very sensitive. And in other words, you're going to need a lot more watts to get that up to something, because 85 dB is not that loud. 90 dB, if it hits that, that's right at the threshold of kind of where you want to be, about 90 dB. And some speakers, I mean, are very efficient, 100. I mean, but those are ridiculous. They're 98 or whatever. I mean, that's almost shouty for 1 watt. So higher the sensitivity, the fewer the watts it takes. Now, with that guide in mind, is a big power amplifier like this beast. This guy is, 300 watts per channel into 8 ohms and double that into 4. So here you have an amplifier that's 600 watts. And we know that 1 watt gets it on a reasonable speaker, moderately loud, and 10 watts louder, and 50 watts even louder. So why in the hell would you put something like this on it? And if you did, would you be in danger? No, you would not be in danger. Not really, not as long as you practice a little bit of common sense. Because we all know if we play a speaker too loud, we're going to damage it or our hearing or both. Don't do that. You know, I mean, unless you've got 4-year-old kids running around or 18-year-old kids with a remote control when dad's not home and the liquor keys to the liquor cabinet. But for normal day use that you control, having too much power is not a big deal. It's better from a headroom standpoint because we just never run out of steam. So as long as you don't turn that level up to ear-piercing, cone-melting levels, which nobody's going to recommend, then it's not a worry. You'll never worry about burning it out. In fact, and I've said this before, one of the worst things you can do is get too small of an amplifier. Because if you grind that thing too hard, you can make square waves where you lop off the sine wave or the music coming in, and those high-frequency lopped off waves can burn tweeters. So the opposite is actually true. Too small of an amp is not a good idea, not from a sound quality level and not from a safety level. Go big or go home. Okay, thanks. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.